Caitlin Aiken's daughter, and I will teach you to cook like a Viking using ingredients that were available during the Viking Age. I would like you to see how life was during that time, so we'll visit other Viking reenactors demonstrating their unique skill and sharing it with us. Join us in the meat hall for a visit with more Vikings. Come with us on our journey through the Viking Age. Hi, I'm Caitlin Aiken's daughter, and welcome to Cook Like a Viking. We're having difficulty cooking right now, so I'm going on site to talk to different Viking reenactors about their particular skill. Welcome. Thank you for inviting me to your place.
I'm Knut the Weaver. I'm a weaver and a hunter. I originally come from Hedeby, or Haitabu.
Yeah.
And now I travel with the Vikings just to make some extra coin for the farm.
Awesome. Well, can you show me what you do?
Certainly. I have my loom here all set up.
Wow.
This is called a warp-weighted loom.
Okay.
These strings here that go up and down are called the warp. The string that goes across and back is called the weft.
Awesome.
So the warp, to keep them tight, they have clay weights
Wow.
on the bottom.
Did you make those weights?
I did. These are clay. They originally look like this,
Wow.
and then I've coated them with beeswax just in case it rains.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yes, because otherwise they fall apart.
That wouldn't work well at all.
No. So the warp threads are weighted, hence the name warp weighted loom. Very, very logical.
So how wide could you make the cloth here?
Well, in theory, I could make it as wide as my loom allows.
Okay.
This is actually a half-size loom.
Oh.
An actual loom would probably be about 8 feet across and a little bit taller, and it would lean up against the side of your house.
Wow.
Or you might have a special room inside the house just for the loom. So you could weave a full rug.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
But this is my travel size. It disassembles for easy transport.
Wow, and you made it yourself.
I did. I'm a little handy with the carpentry.
Just a little. That's kind of good with a weaver.
We're Vikings. We have to be jack of all trades, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
What kind of thread would you use?
Well, I can use any kind of thread. This is wool.
Okay.
And it's very thin. But we can use thicker wool. You can see it's very thick.
Yeah.
For just whichever thread you want to put on here.
And I guess that would depend on what you needed to make.
Yes, yes. If I'm making a thin cloth like this, I would use very fine threads.
Okay.
And if I wanted to make, like, say, a wool cap or something like a wool tunic, then I would use thicker strands.
I bet it would take a long time to do that, though.
It does. It does. Everything about weaving is time consuming.
Yep.
even just setting it up, tying all the strings, that takes hours and hours and days.
Yeah.
Just to get it to the point where you can start weaving.
Yeah. Would you be able to show us how it works?
Certainly.
Okay.
This setup is for a 2-1 twill.
Okay.
Which means that my weft thread goes over 1 and under 2.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yes, so a plain tabby is over 1, under 1. That's your basic weave, and for that I would use only one rod, and I would have some of the strings over the natural shed rod.
Okay.
So for this one, it's a little more complicated pattern. I have to use 3 different ones, and this is my own setup. There's other ways of doing it.
So I guess every weaver would have their own way of doing things.
Yes, more properly, instead of this rod, I would have one set of strings over this. But the weighting gets complicated, and the shed, which is the gap between the strings, get a better shed this way.
Okay.
That's just what I find. What I've done is I've got my strings and I've counted them out. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I've tied all the 1 threads to this rod, which is called a heddle.
Okay.
All the 2 threads are tied here. All the 3 threads are tied here. When I pull this rod out, essentially every 3rd string comes forward.
Awesome.
Now, this being wool, it sticks.
Yep.
So I have to manually separate them to create a gap between them. And that gap is called the shed. The strings, with wool, you would starch them.
Okay.
To keep them from sticking. And that has various success. I don't know if I've got enough on.
Definitely time consuming.
This is probably...
I guess it would take a long time to weave all that stuff too.
It does. This is the most time consuming part of the process, is separating the shed.
Oh no.
If I was doing something simpler, like say a burlap sack, and I was using thicker strings, it would be quicker to separate. This being finer strings and a more complicated weave, it's a little tricky.
Wow. I guess that wool they get from sheep around that area.
Yes, most of it would be local.
Okay.
Almost every farmer would have livestock, and some would have sheep for wool, and they would shear the sheep and would sit around and spin it into thread, and then they would dye it, and then maybe use it or trade it for other things.
Okay.
Yeah, I purchase my wool. I don't have sheep.
Oh. Awesome. Well, everybody has to have a market somewhere.
Yes. Yes, because then I will take the wool and I will weave it and sell it for whatever I need.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. But I guess it would work with flax, linen thread as well?
Yes, linen is made from flax fibers.
Okay.
So like my tunic is linen, so it's just a different kind of thread.
Yeah. Okay.
So now I'm going to take my, it's called the sword or the beater.
Yeah, don't beat around the bush.
Okay, and I'm just going to push it up. And basically what I'm doing here is snugging in the last weft that I passed through. Okay, so I don't know if you can tell, but I've probably got 3 or 4 inches of gap in the shed.
Okay.
That's enough for me to pass the thread. And that's one of the easier sheds. I have my weft thread wound around, it's called a shuttle.
Okay.
And it's just to keep it handy so I can pass it through. Like a ball is kind of awkward, you can drop it, and then it just makes a mess. So
yeah,
shuttle is your friend. I have these extra yellow threads on the side. Because of the pattern, sometimes you come out under the last string and you have to go back in under the last string. So what would happen is that the weft would just pull into your weave. Yeah. So these strings here are basically just to prevent that from happening. It's like no matter where I am in the pattern, I come out under it and I go back in over it. Okay. And it also helps me keep a nice straight edge too.
Almost a selvage edge.
Yes. Okay, so I'm just going to give myself some thread to work with. Over the yellow thread. pass it through the gap, shed, and then under the yellow thread on the other side.
Beautiful.
I'm just going to hang that there. Okay, so now I'm just going to pull this up into the top of that gap,
Yeah.
which is where I want it. And I'm going to pull it almost tight. Okay,
Yeah.
now I take the sword again and I'll push it up into the V.
Wow. That really makes you want to value what you have as for cloth and stuff.
This is why cloth is so valuable, because there's a massive time commitment to make it.
Awesome.
Okay, so I've got my thread in.
Yeah.
What I'll do is I'll relax the heddle, and that essentially traps the thread in place.
Okay.
Then I'll go to the next heddle
You do it all over.
and start all over again. Separate the shed, beat this in just to tighten it up a little bit.
Yep.
And then I'll make another pass. And
Wow.
that's weaving. You just go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. As you get lower down, you can turn the top
Okay.
just to move your work up, because you want your working area to be right here. So you just keep turning it and it wraps around the pole. So I can do extremely long pieces of cloth. You can
Yeah.
see I've got the excess knotted around.
Yep.
But I'm basically only limited by the length of my string.
Wow.
So for a sail or something like that, I could have like 50 feet of string on here.
Amazing.
And I would weave long strips and then sew them together to make a sail.
Sweet.
Yeah, so if a shirt takes a long time, you can imagine the cost of a whole sail. Only kings could afford a sail,
Yeah.
because it was just so much material, so much weaving, so much time.
Thanks again. I appreciate it. And thank you for joining us today on Cook Like a Viking. If you would like more information on the recipes and tools we use, check out our website at cooklikeaviking.com. Thanks for joining us today, and see you next time on Cook Like a Viking.